Chapter 8, Joints of the Skeletal Muscle, lists the functions of the joints. Joints allow motion. Different bones are connected by these joints. There are three general groups of joints: the fibrous joints, the cartilaginous joints, and the synovial joints, which are immovable, semi-movable, and freely movable. There are different types of joint functions. The synarthrosis, you can find those in the skull, sutures, articulations of bony sockets, and the teeth. In the facial skeleton, that's no movement. The amyarthrosis, which is semi-movement, you can find them in the distal joint between the tibia and the fibula and the pubic symphysis. Then you have the diarthrosis, which is a range of full movement, which can be in the elbow, shoulder, and ankle. In the different groups of joints, group 1, I have the fibrosis joints, which is non-movable. Dense connective tissue holds them together, which includes collagen fiber. The syndesmosis is a joint in which a ligament connects two bones allowing for a little movement. An example of that would be the distal joint between the tibia and the fibula. The sutures, which is the hat that connects the bones of the skull. These joints have serrated edges that lock together with fibers of connective tissue. Then you have the gymosis, which is the fibrous articulations between the teeth and the mandible or maxilla. Then you have the cartilaginous joints, which the joints unite bones with hyaline cartilage. It's semi-movement. An example of the synchrondosis would be the joint between the first pair of ribs and the sternum. The symphysis, which consists of a compressible fibrocartilaginous pad that connects two bones. This type of joints allow again for some movement in the hips bones connected by the pubic symphysis and the vertebra connected by the intervertebral disc. Then you have the synovial joint. It's characterized by a presence of articular capsule between the two joint bones. Bone surfaces at synovial joints are protected by a coating of articular cartilage. Synovial joints are often supported and reinforced by surrounding ligaments, which limit movement to prevent injury. There are 6 types of these. We have the gliding joints, which move against each other on a single plane. An example of that would be the intervertebral joints and the bones of the wrists and ankles. The hinge joints move on just one axis. These joints allow for flexion and extension, which would include the elbow and the finger joint. The pivot joint provides rotation at the top of the spine. The atlas and the axis form a pivot joint that allows for rotation of the head, which is the joint between the proximal ends of the radius and the ulna, would be an example of that one. A condyloid joint allows for circular motion, flexion, and extension. Example would be your wrist joint between the radius and your carpal bones. A saddle joint allows for flexion, extension, and other movements, but no rotation in the hands. The thumb saddle joint between the first metacarpal and the trapezium. It lets the thumb cross over the palm, making it opposable. An example would be the joint between the carpal and the metacarpal of the thumb. And then you have the ball and socket joint, is a freely moving joint that can rotate on any axis, which would be your hip and your shoulder joint. And here are my sources.